Hello, how's everyone? Um, Today's YouTube, I wanted to say, I thought about it a lot because I wanted to do an ex-Jehovah Witness video. To keep in contact with the brothers. And I'm saying brothers because I told you about the boxes that I can't, with the other YouTube, you were talking about boxes. I have to do the clothes because I always have to do something because I work 7 days a week. And so I have to do like two things at once. But remember when I said I was going into the boxes? You see it on one of the YouTubes. Like going into your boxes because I don't want to lose the points the video that I'm going to do right now. So, but anyway, I have to explain something. Because it affected me. One of the YouTubes when I stated that I had to do like we do have boxes that we like after we leave the congregation and everything, all the trauma that we go through, we put all of these things in separate boxes. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't all go together as one. We have our friends that we can't talk to, and the relationships that we had with them. We all put them in a box. But it's funny that it doesn't just go all together. Like simultaneously, because that's just the way we lived. So that's when we cut off everything, we had to put everything into these certain boxes because that's the way it looks like. Because when I started thinking about from the YouTubes that I just did, the last two or three, and I didn't know it existed like this, but I saw that everything was in a box. But one of the points I came up with is, and this ties into what the video I'm going to do now about. Well, you'll see the title anyway. Um, okay, because like we had brothers and sisters that we would go to, that we could go to get-togethers with. But like when you go to a get-together, everybody's a Jehovah Witness, right? And like for instance, my friend invited me to. It was my best friend. He invited me to his friends who were Jehovah Witnesses, and there's just something, a connection that you have. They're all Jehovah Witnesses, so you pretty much know some kind of tie or whatever, some kind of bond that we had. I mean, it's a real bond because I remember when my sister and her child, it was newborn, my nephew, and he was not even a year old, and she worked for this 7-Eleven corporation, and they called it Southland Corporation, and her boss wanted to go to, I think it was Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo. Something like that. Anyway, Buffalo. And I wanted to go to Buffalo for some reason. I can't really see the whole story, but she asked me would I drive with her. And I drove with her boss and her son. And we got stuck on the road one time. And I called a Jehovah Witness in the area, and they came and picked us up. I mean, came and help us. It helped us, and it really did help us. But my sister said she felt comfortable. She knew that I would handle. I knew she knew that I could handle things. But what I'm trying to say is that was a brother that helped us. Okay. And the funny thing about it is, excuse me, when you meet them, you know that they're a brother or a sister. I mean, it's like this is another point too. You just can't fake it. I mean, I don't know what, but I'm almost sure. I mean, maybe. I'm a Catholic now, but I remember that some people would come in and do a prayer, and I could kind of tell whether they were Catholic or not, but I couldn't tell totally. But with the Jehovah Witness, you know that they were a brother or sister. And we went over to a lot of their houses, for a get together. And they were Jehovah Witnesses, and we knew this thing, maybe trust or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that we had this relationship throughout the Jehovah Witnesses. Like when you went to the assembly, I mean, you pretty much knew how things were going to be. I mean, we knew what type, when you got in line, like when you got in line to get the food, the books. I mean, everybody was pretty much, you could just tell certain things, you know what I mean? So that's the point I'm trying to make, and is that everybody, ex-Jehovah Witness that's watching me right now, understood and understands what I'm talking about. So, I mean, we left, or we're no longer part of the Jehovah Witnesses. So that would make, I mean, I'm not going to say you all are my ex brothers and sisters. It's impossible. But I would be able, I mean, this is kind of like going, not borderline, but it's kind of, how can I say, it's a, not sneaky, but it's sensitive, very sensitive line, okay? So what I'm saying is that we're brothers and sisters. I mean, I know you don't want to like have anything to do with the Jehovah Witnesses like I do, but still and yet there is some kind of bond that we have, because we understood that we grew up with this, brother and sister, which is something that doesn't belong to brother and sister, it belonged to us, you know what I mean? It was what we conceived of. So that's the only thing I'm saying. It's like, I was talking to one ex-Jehovah Witness, and it was one comment that I got, and I was explaining it to her in one of my topics, I guess. I explained it to her. So, if I explained it to her and she understood, and then because I was going to meet up with some ex-Jehovah Witnesses, because they have where I live, they have like a club or something, meetup, okay? And something always happens. That's one thing. I'm going to go on this tangent, and then I'm going to come back to the brothers and sisters. But it seems like every time I get a Jehovah Witness friend, ex-Jehovah Witness friend, but I can actually say Jehovah Witness friend. I mean, now that I'm thinking of it. But I want to keep it clear, so I'm going to say ex-Jehovah Witness friend. Something always happens. Okay, but anyway, so I went to this, that's just the tangent I was going to go on. So anyway, I wanted to go to this, I know this is funny, but this is how our mind is, I guess. And I wanted to go to this meeting. I wanted to go to this meeting, and I knew exactly when. It was the 17th. But I could never go to all of them because I work every day and it's always early. But this time they made it at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much. And I said, yes, I'm going to go. And come to think of it, that day turned out to be a pretty bad day. Usually I have a very good day. But something weird happened. You know how our mind goes. But I didn't think of that, and I'm not going to say that because I'm still going to try and meet up again. But that's what I was saying, is that, okay, so that's the meeting that I was going to go to. Now, I explained to you, I went off on a tangent, and I explained to you about, when I usually meet up with a brother and sister, an ex-Jehovah brother and sister, something seems to happen. Okay, really, which I hope that's not the case. But I gotta not think that way, okay? And then I was talking about this comment that I had, this one of my regular watchers or whatever, and we were saying that now getting back to, she said, your brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoy. I can't go because I'm in England, but I hope you have fun with your brothers and sisters, which is now we're back at the point that I'm trying to say, brothers and sisters. So it seems like a sensitive kind of thing, and that's for another YouTube. So I'm not going to pretty much get into we brothers and sisters, because I got to make sure that I get all of you all's agreement, or I have to see if I can say that and be comfortable with it. But I'm still going over that. I'm still, oh yeah, I did get a haircut, and it's a long story. It's in one of the YouTubes. But I'm still like working on that subject. Okay, so we're not going to go there yet. So now getting back to this one about what this YouTube is about. And this one is about, and it does still come from the boxes that I was, after I emptied out a lot of boxes, which are memories from the Jehovah Witnesses, I was coming up with something, and I wanted to stress something that happened to me. I put it a little bit in some of the earlier YouTubes that I have, but it's very important. It's about my mother. She passed away, and she was Jehovah Witness. And I explained in depth about her in my earlier videos. Okay, it's very complicated, complex. But I know she understood me, and I'm almost sure she knew that I wasn't going to stay a Jehovah Witness. But it was a secret. It was almost like I mean, she couldn't say anything and I couldn't say anything. It was just like, we both understood it or whatever. But anyway, she passed away. And before I get into it, I want to say we all need each other. I mean, everybody needs each other. That's another reason why I think they treat us the way we do, because everybody's connected. They just can't cut us off. I mean, they can't physically cut us off from them because everybody's connected in a way. We did things with them. We actually own part of the business because their business that they're running, because we put our money into it. I know I put my money into it. So that's a point I want to make while I'm stressing this topic. And the topic is I helped my Jehovah Witness mother go to heaven. Okay. The reason why I wanted to stress that we all need each other, and I'm setting up for this because I want to say this. I mean, you could be atheist or whatever, but it doesn't really make a difference, because you can't, I mean, you're only one person, but yet everybody's connected together. And I was thinking about this morning. I was looking at, because I sit at the bench before I go to work, because I like to go to work early. And I get to work really early, and I do a few things. Most of it is studying. And I was watching all the people, and I was saying everybody's connected in some kind of way. Not connected technically to where it's not enjoyable, but it's enjoyable. I mean, you don't have to think about some things. Like when I work, I don't have to think about like the water. I was mopping the floor and the drain, the water was going down in the drain. It's just pretty deep how I think. And I was saying that somebody did that, you know what I mean? I don't even have to worry about it. I only have to think about it because somebody made this like this so that I could just dump the water and the water goes down into sewage or whatever. But we don't think about each other like that, but it is true. So I know I'm going to tie this in. So what I'm trying to say is just like in heaven, you know what I mean? I mean, we on earth, we think, I mean, I don't think that way, but a lot of people think that, oh, it's just us. I mean, it's nobody else. How in the world, when we need so many things, we need so much help, when we need each other so much, and everybody needs something else. We all need something Like I was telling you about the drain, we didn't have to think about it. Think about all the things that we don't have to think about because there's a heaven. Okay. And I would say, to me, the heaven would be like the capital. I mean, as far as, let's just say it's the capital of heaven. I mean, capital of something, okay? Because like we say, like for instance, like when we go to, uh, when we go to, when we go overseas or something like that, and you meet somebody on the street and they go, "Where are you from?" You usually say something that that people can understand. Like if I'm from Buffalo, New York, I'm just gonna say New York, okay? I'm not gonna say Buffalo, New York, because you're gonna say, "Where's that at?" Unless they know. But most of the time, people are not gonna know. But if I'm from anywhere around in Virginia or Maryland, if I'm in Virginia or Maryland, I'm just gonna say DC, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. So I think that heaven. This is just now. This is totally my thinking. Is that heaven is just like a capital, okay? So that's all I'm saying. Just to make this point, saying that it's got to be connected with everything that we have to do. I mean, there's so many things that we need as human beings. There's no way in the world we're doing all this by ourselves. Even I took this class. Economics class. It was the hardest class. The teacher, I think it was too hard for the professor also. And she said there's a third hand. There's something that runs everything. We call it the invisible hand. Well, and I said to myself, well, that's definitely God, or that's heaven. You know what I mean? So to say that, the reason why I'm saying that is that, okay, the Jehovah Witnesses don't think that they don't have, that there's no other place, but how can it be true? You know what I mean? I mean, even logically, if you think about it logically, there's no way in the world we're doing all this by ourselves. But we need each other, and we don't even know the sicknesses and all of this and everything that we need. Then there's got to be something else. So I'm just making that point that there is a heaven. So the reason why I want to say this too, because I figure things. Okay, I know everybody has their strange ways when their parents die. It's very emotional because they're so much a part of you. And like my mother, she never said that she was mortal. That's the thing about it is, out of all the things that she did, I never thought while I was growing up that anything was ever going to happen to her. She never, maybe she thought it, yes, but she never said anything like when I get old or something like this. To me. Okay, she probably did it to some other. So anyway, but she did it. She passed away. And I'm saying this because how close we are to, we have a very good parent. We can't have them die. I mean, they still are such a part of us. And I know everybody knows and everybody feels that when their parent passes away, that they're not gone. I mean, you just can't handle it. So my mother passed away. It's in one of the YouTubes as far as how she passed away and a big story. But this one is about how I helped her get to heaven because she was a Jehovah Witness. Now, as far as my thinking is concerned, this is totally me. It's like I was, and I think a lot of people maybe would agree with it too, but I'm not saying it's fantasy. I'm just saying that everybody has these way of thinking to handle what's happened to their parents. In mine, what happened was it was a very bad passing as far as spiritually is concerned, because the Jehovah Witness, they don't pretty much care. I mean, like at the end, you're gone. Maybe they'll say a prayer, but they're not going to do too much. Okay. And she ended up in a hospice, and I'm almost sure the hospice was run by some Catholic, and I'm almost sure they prayed for her. Thank you very much. But after I found out all that happened because I actually had a chance, and it's in my early videos, how my sister handled, and thank God she had somebody to be with her while she passed away. But this is one of the things I want to say, as far as what she told me. Is she told me she stopped talking, okay, and and she said if I could just see her smile, and she was with the lady, not a Jehovah Witness, with the nurse or the whatever they call her, who was a hospice, and she goes, if I could just see her, let me see what time it is. If I could just see her smile one more time. So this lady, first of all, my mother waited until my sister's birthday, but I couldn't say that. I couldn't tell her that. And after her birthday, anyway, she was somewhere. Because my sister said that she said, if I could just see that smile one more time. And my mother hadn't talked in maybe like a week or so, I guess, what I'm thinking. And she smiled. She smiled for her. And she hadn't talked or anything. So that was something. But do you think my Jehovah Witness sister would ever think anything else? No. The only thing that she's going to think is she's going to die, and that's it. And they'll see her in a new system. The new system, like I said, it's in a park with a lot of animals, and nobody's working, which doesn't make any sense. They haven't thought about the whole thing. And they just want to make it, not other people. Just them, okay? So anyway, so she's not going to think anything else, okay? So she passed away. And of course, she waited until she died before I got a chance to know. But I'm glad she called. She at least called me for that. They usually call. They call when somebody died, and they'll talk to you a little while, and that's it. So anyway, I didn't know what to do. But then I didn't really know my feelings. But that's another story that I told you. I told you in detail before. But this is one about how I got my mother into heaven. So, this is when I was studying Catholic. I think I had just gotten baptized. I was definitely baptized, I'm more sure. And I wanted to learn about being a Catholic. And I did this because I'm almost God I'm almost sure he helped people get into, I know he doesn't believe in any religions, but it's good to know him some kind of way. And maybe, I'm just saying, maybe he helps some people be Christian, if that's the closest thing they can do. But for me, he wanted me to be Catholic. I'm not saying he wants everybody to be Catholic, but for me, that's what he wanted. So I'm not saying everything about everybody. But anyway, I was doing pretty well, because I would go to the mass like every week, if not 2 times a week. I went to confession all the time, and that's one thing I'm happy about my ex-Jehovah Witness brothers and sisters, because we let each other, we respect each other's life decisions after we left Jehovah Witness, and I appreciate that from you all. But anyway, I wanted to be a Catholic. So then my mother passed away, and I didn't know what to do. Okay? And then they had these intentions. An intention is when you mention, and this is right after her death, maybe no more than a week. You mention the person at the, you mention the person that you care about or whatever after, how can I say not after, but you mention them, and after the Mass, or a certain time during the Mass, or after, most likely at the end of the Mass, they say the intentions, okay? And I made an intention, they notice them in the Mass, or they pray or whatever, and I put my mother, okay? Which was, I just put my mother. Now, this is the strange part, because I definitely believe, and like I said, I promise you, I would never be Catholic if it wasn't for God, okay? Because I listen to everything, my prayers. And so I'm not saying everybody has to be, but for me, he wanted me to be Catholic. So anyway, so I did the intention. Maybe I paid like $5, but that's important too, because I mean, like, you want to give something. I mean, everybody says money, 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 but when the Catholics say money, what's the big deal? I mean, like, I can honestly tell you that I don't drink anymore, but I will spend money on something that I like too much, on too much on something that I like. I'm saying when I used to drink, I used to blow up maybe $100 a week. You know what I mean? If I had a hobby right now, like for instance, I like music, I would definitely see this guitar right here. And this thing is broke right here. Where's that? I want to show you. See, this is broke right here. I will spend, and I know they're not going to think about whether they're cheating me or not. But I want to get straps, and I want to get this thing fixed. And I don't care if they charge me. I hope they're not listening though. But I hope I will pay at least $200 or $300. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, it's not the money. I mean, I know back in the day, long time ago, yes, they used to cheat a lot of the poor people, but they learned from it, and that's another thing. So I paid $5 for the intention, maybe $7. And this is the day that I walked in. And this is when I say everybody has these fantasies of what they believe. And everybody's afraid to say their fantasy because they're going to say people are going to be weird or whatever. I'm sorry. But I don't think, but that's what I want to say. I'm open about that. You know what I mean? I think we should share a lot of our weird fantasies, and it's not a bad fantasy, just a weird way of thinking. If I had a partner, I would, what do they call a partner or whatever? Significant other. I would want to share that. So this is what I'm telling you. So I'm being very open, and I told you especially in my earlier video, that I use my I want to use that fantasy part of me also. So anyway, when I walked into the intention that day for my mother's intention, walked into the mass, I didn't notice anything. And they did the intention, and I was so nervous. Not nervous, but just anticipating them to say, I just knew something inside of me. It's like something inside of you when you don't know all instructions, but you feel something that you know you're doing right. And I just knew that they had to. It could have been Christian, it could have been Pentecost or whatever, but it had to have been a religion that actually believed in heaven. Okay. So anyway, I needed that for them to say that, and he said it, and it did the intention, and I was like, oh, thank you for saying about the intention, okay? So, and then after the thing, I was so happy, and then after I finished the intention, did this, okay? I'm walking, in the pews, and I see this plant, okay? It's a fig tree, small fig tree. And it's the same kind of fig tree that I had in my room when I was coming up, and we had this yellow house. It's in Virginia somewhere. And I don't know why, but I made my room into like an office, because I always thought I was going to do something, and I got this fig tree, not big, but it was the same size that they put in this church, a fig tree, and they put them by a lot of the pews. It was a basilica, so they had these fig trees throughout, and I would go there every week, and I never seen the fig tree, but when I did that intention, I saw that fig tree. Not just that, but when I noticed the fig tree, it triggered my memory of me getting a fig tree, and my mother knew about the fig tree. Okay? So it was like a message, and I know it had to be approved by God or whatever, but they knew I was going to do that in heaven, and they set all that up. I know it's strange and weird, but I believe in that because it meant so much to me. Not just that, but it meant a lot to me because these people don't believe. I mean, she was in a religion that didn't believe in heaven at all. So that meant so much. They had the fig tree as I had in my room. It was like a message that my mother was all right. But it didn't stop there. Okay? So, then, okay, now, a lot of people, when they pass away, and when their parents pass away, or a brother or sister that's very, very close to you and that you love very much, I mean, you have dreams of them sometime, okay? Dreams that you don't forget. It's not like a regular dream. It's like a gift. So these are the dreams that I had the time that my mother passed away, which I know went in line with everything. So the first one that I can remember was that I was like somewhere and she was wrapped up, like just like a canvas or something wrapped up. And I don't know how, but she gave me $5. I mean, or the sum of how much, I'm almost sure it was $5 of the intention that I made, and I got the $5. She gave me that in a dream, but it was like I could remember it now, and I have dreams pretty much every night that I can't even remember. But this one meant something, and it was still like, like a dream, but I still remember that. So that was telling me, okay, that was telling me that I did the right thing, okay, and it's just a heaven. It's a heaven, definitely, because it's organized. We think everything is so big, but think about all the people that passed away. It's a place for everybody. I'm not saying it's heaven. I'm sure there's just other places. Heaven is just like the capital because it's so big. So, and it has to have built structures that handle all these people and families. So it has to be organized. Families and people, okay? So anyway, so that's the first thing that happened. So then after that, did this. The second dream, and it didn't happen like one night after another. It was like time went past and then another dream. So in this dream, I was walking through this like hallways. It was like something like a social security building, like you would find in a social security building or a court office or something like that. Those kind of rooms, like a courtroom or social security or something like that. And I was walking room after room, and I got into this one room, and my mother was like sitting on the front with other people, but I only noticed her, and she smiled at me with beautiful teeth. Okay, that's what I remember, because I remember her teeth. She had to have false teeth and everything, like I need, but and I remember her, and I was happy for her, and she saw me, and she smiled. Another thing, crystal clear. The thing was like a dream, but it was still something so concrete. So she was in the waiting room, and I see how it progresses like. So then after that, I had, what was it, another dream? Oh, this is like not good news. Not really good. But this one was another thing. Then I was walking, time went past, a lot of time went past. And it was this building, an office building. I knew the office building, and I was walking out, but it was a futuristic time. It was like way in the future, okay? And I was going out of the building, and how did that work? Maybe I was in the building or something. I had to have been in the building. Or I think I was coming in, and a young girl was going out. Young girl. And I knew it was my mother. She didn't look anything like her, but she was young. Younger than I was. And they had this like water, but it wasn't really water, but it was like a fixture. You know how in the office buildings they have like fixtures? But this is futuristic, but it was like water, but you could walk in it, okay? And she had made it to the other side, you know, like walking or whatever. And I remember I wanted to cut through to see her. And I cut through half of it, and I saw her. I was looking at her, and I knew it was her. And the funny thing about it is just from the look, I obtained information, okay? And I kept the information, and then you not decoded it, but I figured out what had happened, and this is what happened, okay? She knew that, her family, the ones that she loved so much, you know, they were Jehovah Witnesses. And she had a choice that she could continue to follow them, you know, like just live the life and see their lives and stuff like that, or else she could start a new life over again. And she decided to start a new life over again because she knew that her daughters and her sons would not even notice her. And what I mean by not notice her is that they wouldn't dream of her like I did. If she was trying to message them, and there's a lot of messages and hints that you could do in life, you know, that we always think when our parents die, it's like, oh, it must be my mother. Oh, it must be my father. You know what I mean? But she knew that that would never happen. So she chose another life. And you know the funny thing about it is I told my brother, who's not a Jehovah Witness, and he believed me. That's what I believed. So that's which I believe happened. Because how in the world I'm going to get all this information? And the thing about it is I was happy, so I'm happy for her. I'm happy that she made it. But say if I didn't do anything, because there's how many people that die all the time, and there's how many, and it's so big. How do we actually think that we don't have to do anything whatsoever? I mean, like for instance, like I know I have treasures in heaven because when I was really young, I said treasures in heaven. Certain things stuck in my mind, and I go, I'm going to have treasures in heaven. I looked for the treasures, and everybody, you have to do it yourself. And I said, treasures in heaven, treasures in heaven. How do I get treasures in heaven? And I looked for those treasures, and how could I have treasures in heaven? And I found a way. So I made sure I have a big bank account in heaven. Treasures. You have to find it yourself. So what I'm trying to say is I use my treasures in heaven to make sure my mother not only made it to heaven, but got what she wanted. Just think about the people who die and they don't. I mean, I'm not saying that God doesn't care about them, but they have a responsibility. Their family has a responsibility if they want to stay together, if they want to still. I'm not saying a weird kind of communication or feeling, however they communicate. I'm not talking about communicate. I'm talking about like when a bell rings or something happens and you say, oh, or when you want to, oh, what would you do, Mom? You know what I mean? You pray, what would you do, Mom? And then she helps you. Okay, that's what I mean. I mean, you have to believe. If you don't believe in that, I mean, like the Jehovah Witnesses, they could just pass away. But then they have I'm almost, you could pass away and you will end up the same place where you are, and you don't have any, it would take so long for somebody to come by, you know, because what did you do? You know what I mean? But I made it to where my mother had it easy. Even if you're a Christian, I believe if you're Christian, it'd be different, but you still have you're making plans for that person. You're asking God to do this. But if you don't do nothing whatsoever, just like here, if you don't do anything whatsoever, what's going to happen to you? I'm not saying people who can't do anything. I'm saying people who don't care about anything, who don't care about anybody. What makes you, what would happen to you? Okay, you won't end up with anything. You won't end up with friends and stuff like that. Well, that's the same thing. And God's made us like He made us like He made them. You know. So anyway, that was pretty long. It's not almost an hour, but that's what I want to say. So, if you do have parents, they don't. My ex-brothers, I can't say ex-brothers and sisters, that's what I'm saying. Now I have to say that I'm still figuring out whether I can say brothers and sisters to my ex-brothers and sisters, not to my ex-brothers and sisters as Jehovah Witnesses. Thank you very much for listening. Think about that, because I'm going to do a video on that.